Good Fed Day warriors. Who's ready for the Fed? I have a question. Do you think Jay Powell is going to be nice or mean? How you doing, Scott? Welcome to Face. Blake, how are you? Andrew, Bran. Okay. RC, Mike, Ingmar. Ryan's here. Okay. Nick is here. All right. Fed pause, Scott Williams. Okay. So let's get prepared. How's the team doing?
Hey, Coach.
Hey,
Happy
how are you?
FOMC Day, Coach.
Morning,
Yeah,
everybody.
ready. Uh, I think that there could be a rally if he's hawkish, maybe not today, but um, I'm looking at this as being the first wave down. I think we have five here. So I'm looking to sell Dixie up around, 830, 850 this week. I'll be wrong at first, maybe over the highs and then tighten it up, but looking to do that. And then, do your fibs. Um, I like this area here. It's about 61.8, 103.20 for euro. So looking at, uh, you know, selling dollar strength, basically. If you believe what happened last week, wow, look at silver is exploding. Okay, so the gold silver ratio is turning. Anyway, okay. So that's what I'm thinking going into the Fed. How about you? I'll start with you, Ryan. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, mate.
What are you going to do into the Fed? Wait, react
Um,
to it, the presser?
yeah, I think, as you've been saying, there's risks coming left, right, and centre for this one. Yeah, I think he's got to walk a fine line. He can't, the Fed are pausing their rate cuts, and he's got to stop the market from getting too hawkish and moving too hawkish because they still want to get rates down. That's the main objective. So he's got to do his salesman pitch again. He's got to highlight the risks of why they're pausing, but highlight that they're going to keep cutting and they're ready to cut and act both ways depending on that. So yeah, he's got to fight to stop the market from getting too hawkish. Trade wise, I'm sort of looking the same thing as Blake is in the chat room, but I'm looking at dollar CAD maybe just as a quick punch trade between the BOC and the Fed. So if Canada surprises with a hold, I think I'm going to buy that dip if it's half decent.
Okay. Is a BOC today?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Wait a second, Ryan. You think the Bank of Canada could? You think that they're not going to cut today?
No, I think they are going to cut, but I think
Oh,
if they surprise and don't cut, I'm going to buy that dip.
oh my gosh. So I mean, the dollar CAD would absolutely crap the bed, but you want to be buying down there somewhere
Yeah, I
ahead
think so
of
too.
the tariff situation.
To run into the Fed, yeah, maybe the tariff thing.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So I guess we should talk about yields since we're talking about the Fed. Any view here, guys? I mean, it's been a nice pullback. I've seen counts that we could go down to about 435, but not like we're going to go to 3.5 again.
That
So
that 450 is the important one. You can take that back a bit as well. We were talking about this one late last year. That 450 was a
yeah,
big level on the way up, on the way down again, and on the way up again.
yeah. So
And here
was
we
I
are,
think 430.
430, 420, I think it was something like that. Yeah.
What's this
Uh,
line here? Yeah, 433. It's this high. It broke out. It failed from there.
yeah.
Pulled back, held it. Anyway, 430. And some moving averages there to boot. Okay, yeah, 430. All right. And this I don't think it's going to be you know, this big. Do you?
What the
I still
move?
think I think we need to take this high out, you know,
Yeah,
to really clean, you know, what or challenge it at least. I think it's traveled too far not to attempt it. Um, so, you know, if we go to 430, and the bonds continue a rally, I mean, I'm not that impressed with the TLT here. You know, it's bounced, but you know,
needs
it's
a catalyst
corrected. Yeah. Well, we'll have one today.
potentially. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm,
That
I'm not. I'm not sure we get one today, but it's possible. You know, if he has to hint that they're on pause for several months, then the market's going to go bonkers hawkish.
Yeah.
You know, and that's his job. I think that's one of the reasons why they sent Waller out last couple of weeks ago. Remember, he had a real dovish turn. He was still pumping 3 or 4 cuts this year, and March is definitely on the table. And it was like, whoa, where are you coming from, sunshine?
Okay. Appreciate all your input, Ryan.
Thanks,
Yeah,
mate.
and that
Yeah.
chart to me, it's TLT, but it looks similar to the ZN that Blake and I have been pointing out. It looks like an inverse head and shoulders pattern. We're pretty much brushed up against the neckline right now. And
Yeah.
as far as the Fed goes, I do think today could be a day where that potentially breaks. I mean, I was looking at, odds of a Fed hike, and, right after the meeting last month, there was articles coming out. There's now a 40% chance the Fed will pivot back to hiking rates again this year. I think 40%, whether it's 40 or 20, I still think that's pretty high. I think there's a risk that we actually walk some of that back.
Where do you buy them? Where are you long notes?
I'm long ZN from 108.10.
Mhm. Okay. All right. I was going to bring you in. Anything else you want to talk about besides the
Oh yeah,
bonds?
I have some stuff. I just wanted to comment on that chart. We can keep going around the horn.
Okay. S&P's got up to the gap. I really feel fortunate. I covered the NVIDIA crash yesterday.
Nice
The
work.
day before, right there. I mean, you know, I'm not through with it if we get a continuation move, and I rotated into Apple puts at 240 at the WD GAN play. Just sell a 50% retracement. So, I thought, down here, when would I ever have a chance to sell um, Apple again after missing this? And, you know, this is a chance. Yeah. And, there are a couple of things, you don't know how many times I felt like I had missed NVIDIA. All right. Like last month, I was back here, I was short and I thought this was going to be a breakdown. It was a good trade. Uh, but I got out on this little 3 drive and said, we could go to new highs. But then this happened before I was probably doing an interview or working. And this happened in 10 minutes. I go, oh, now I missed NVIDIA. But, I didn't miss NVIDIA. So there are a lot of, you just have to stick with things and, um, you may think you missed it, but the markets can, especially these kind of markets now, they're giving you more than one opportunity to, trade waves, this kind of volatility. So, Nick, what else? Where are you at on S&Ps here into this gap?
Yeah, so I think the last time I was on the show was close to NFP, and I was pretty much building into some longs between then and the Monday ahead of CPI. I was pretty
That's an old newspaper. What do you think here?
Yeah. Okay. So we filled some gaps in the S&P spot. One of those gaps was closest to where we pretty much stopped, right around 59.50. I had that linked up as key support going into this week. I think that things are cleared potentially to get to all-time highs again. We need to get
Okay.
through the Mag 7 earnings. Today we have Meta,
Yeah.
Tesla, and Microsoft. And tomorrow we have I want to say it's Apple, Apple and Intel. So I think after what we saw with Nvidia, I think there's some talks about rebalancing. I think earnings are really important this week. It's kind of, I feel like somewhat of a put up or shut up type of event. So I'm gonna be pretty hyper focused on that. And speaking of your three drives, which you taught me, thank you. I do see one on the daily in Meta.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
there's some signals
Someone
there.
tweeted that to me um, before it blew off. It's still confirming a little bit up here, and I think it blew out the divergence, and it's about to. But yeah, you're saying this is one, this is two, and this is three.
Yeah, mine seems to
Mm,
look a little different, but yeah, those are the ones I'm looking at, I think.
yeah. Okay.
And speaking of Nvidia, I was pointing out on the daily roundup yesterday, there were some pretty large dark pool orders coming in around the lows on Monday, and then they were in Nvidia itself, and then also a lot in the SOX index. Obviously, we don't know if those dark pools are a buy or a sell, but I'm going to venture to guess they were likely a buy. This DeepSeek narrative, I do think it's somewhat overblown, but I think it's also important to note, how quickly how quickly NVIDIA is willing to fall. And I think this year, the year of the snake for the Chinese, I think we're in for some pretty interesting market, for a pretty interesting market. And if we see more of that emerge in the AI space, things could get ugly really quickly.
Yeah, there's your meta, Nick. It's a throw over. So, not exactly a three drive. It's basically a wedge that we have a throw over under on now. You have to wait for it to get back inside the return line to do any. I mean, that's what I would wait for.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's great. I'm glad people are buying it, NVIDIA, Nick, because um, when we take out this low, which was a primary objective off this return line, went right to it. I had this drawn way before it, and this black line I see, but under 116, there's a lot of air. Um, and if you consider this in a regular B up here, and that this was A, and this is an irregular B making new highs, we could have this is a $50, 90, yeah, $50 decline. 1.618 is 80 from here, could take you down towards $70. I think that if we take this out, just a measured move is 36, gives you $80 from the high to call this a breakdown if we break down after this bounce. I think, just like Apple being widely held, everyone owns NVIDIA. And I don't think this was enough to get people to puke, especially since it came back right away. So they're going, phew, but go ahead, give me a rally into the gap. I'm all over it again. I'll try it again. I don't think K-Man's here today, right? He's not here.
He has something going on. I think his internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Where
I
are you
think
at?
his electricity is cut today, but
Oh, yeah,
Ryan's
I
here.
saw that. Yeah, I know. Ryan, you have a view on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'm still $31 bid, which is a buck ahead of K-Man. So
$31?
yeah, yeah. When he gets to
Oh,
31,
okay.
as I say, I'm only there because K-Man's bid at $30.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
that's well above Steve's $1 bid.
He's never getting filled.
Yeah.
Who
All right.
said that? I'm bid at $10.
Steve, look at this gold silver ratio. How about a comment on silver finally taking the lead and the potential that the gold silver ratio is peaking up here? What do you think?
Yeah, although it's, one day does not make a trend change, right?
In this market, it does.
Uh, nah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But
Well,
definitely it's something I'm monitoring,
yeah.
very frequently. The gold silver ratio has remained, very resilient. and technically speaking, it has, it has had some confusing price action since I would say the end of 2022, more or less, more of a broad range type of formation. But eventually, I definitely expect silver to overperform. It has greatly underperformed
Yeah. Maybe
gold
we have, maybe,
and the rest of the
maybe we
metals
have,
as well.
yeah, maybe we have to just take out 92. Look at this, 92, 92, 92. Pretty convenient. But, you can see why it's stopping here. Okay. Anyway, so what you need to do now is take your gold and exchange it for silver, because maybe sometime this year we're going to have another wave to the downside like this, to 60. I don't think you could have a measure. This move was pretty,
Yeah,
was
it was
50.
impulsive, and I definitely believe that
Yeah,
the move that has followed during the past 3 years has been a prolonged consolidation before we get another sharp leg lower. Because
yeah,
if you exclude that type of price action that we had and the blow off top of the gold silver ratio in 2020,
yeah.
even where we are at the moment, we remain at historically extremely elevated levels.
All right, good perspective. Okay. All right. So, it may look cheap because you're saying, oh, why, I should have done it here.
Yeah, but it isn't.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, 60, I remember 40 was kind of a median for a
Yeah,
lot of my
somewhere there.
career,
Somewhere
and
there.
so,
40, 45, somewhere there.
so I mean, if you exchange your gold for silver, that's a big gain if that happens. You're compounding your physical metal
Yeah, I
gains.
think that at least 65 as a mean reversion, is something that, we should see.
Okay. All right, Blake, where's your head at today? I'm going to give you
Well,
the charts.
my head's at the FOMC today. I mean, we obviously have a big day today, and it's not just the FOMC. You guys have been talking about the Bank of Canada. You've been talking about the Mag 7. So obviously a lot is happening today. We've got fresh lows in the euro right now, and fresh lows in sterling, and basically the dollar's just rallying. I mean, you got the Aussies under pressure following the CPI yesterday, which gave, it's everybody now is expecting the RBA to finally start cutting. And I made a mistake by saying that their meeting was in March. It's actually next month. It's in February. I don't know why March was stuck in my head, but regardless, the next meeting, the market's now starting to look at an RBA cut. You've got it approaching the 618 retracement, and basically the dollar's just really strong today. And then now, and on top of it, you got futures that are coming down. So futures coming down, a lot of people believe that, the dollar should strengthen. They're, just as you can see, we tried yesterday to get into that gap. This is from that NVIDIA gap, and we're just kind of rolling over. I do believe gaps always get filled, but it doesn't mean it needs to be filled this week, tomorrow, today, next week. It could take a while. So, but the S&P is stalling at where we basically gapped on Monday. And I'm just waiting for the Fed. I mean, the Fed, and I can talk to the guys about this too. The Fed, I expect they're going to be dovish because they have to be, not for a lot of different reasons, but when you have, obviously pressures that Powell's probably feeling, inadvertently from President Trump right now on, Powell should, lower rates and da da da. We still have a lot of uncertainties regarding the trade situation too. So when you're sitting there going, if you're the Fed and you're like, there's so many uncertainties and what the Trump administration is going to do with trade, it's hard for them to, really move at this point. I think they're going to be a bit paralyzed. And actually, here's the other thing. And I wanted to run this by Ryan really quick because I was listening to his flow show earlier this morning. For those of you that don't listen, make sure you guys listen in every day. That's how I get caught up. I listen to the recording actually, on top of inside of our chat rooms and everything else. But Ryan, how about if the Fed, gives us the indication that they're going to stay on hold more, for an extended period of time? How do you think the dollar responds to that?
I think we see the dollar rally, yields rally, because the market will just get hawkish and it will say, well, what if inflation doesn't start coming down? And the next move might be a hike, let alone staying on pause. We've already seen it. We've had, I think it was Bank of America said that there's a strong risk that the next move is a hike. So the pendulum has already swung that way to the hawkish side. And as I said earlier, that's what Powell's got to be careful of. But how do you explain that you're pausing amid a cut cycle without the market getting too hawkish? It's a difficult one. He's a good salesman. We know he's navigated these sorts of waters before, so you wouldn't put it past him. He's going to go all around the houses. He's going to mention the risks, upside inflation, mention the risks, the economy if it comes over. And as I said yesterday, you've got to have Truth Social open as well, because
you think he'll be mad? You think the President Trump will be get angry today?
I never say anything's a guarantee in trading the markets, but it's probably a guarantee that he will pop up even during the presser and have drop a truth bomb. Whether it moves the market's another matter. But if you're going to put a house on a bet, you put it on Trump popping up and having a moan.
Yeah. All right. So okay, Fed time. Blake, you have a view on Bitcoin? Because I mean, it's kind of a sign. It's stalling. It doesn't seem like it can make up its mind if it wants to blow one more time or roll over. I can't figure it out.
As far as like, do I have a view on Bitcoin? Not really. I mean, this right here, this level is a 618 retracement. It's also, you can see a spike low right here. It comes in, and just so you guys know, I mean, it's the level I've been looking at. This, like, it's 97,000 basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's pretty critical support. And, I think as long as we're above that, you can't really be bearish. But at the same time, do we feel like we should be bullish right here? I don't know. I'd rather just buy dips, and then knowing that if it breaks below 89,000, you're going to get a full on retracement, because then you get a range expansion. Because this right here is clearly a range. So, below 89,000 is bearish. Above, 109, you're talking 114. So, 114 and then a 120. So I don't think there's anything to really do.
No, it's neutral. Strongly neutral then.
Strongly neutral right now. I don't think Steve's bid at $10 is going to get filled. I don't think Ryan's at 31 is going to get filled.
Maybe we should tell Steve if he wants to put an order in like that, not for them to be a daily order and make it easy on himself, and make it an open order. And never, stay open for the next 5 years.
There we go. One of the other things we should really talk about is I want to have this discussion. Now, this is something here. Let me go over to the Forex Analytix chat room, and you guys want to see, like, all the Ryan, why did you post that? That is absolutely disgusting. That right there.
You're not cooking it.
I mean, seriously, like you're gonna eat a donut burger. Like, this is what Ryan posts in the chat room. But I'm just kidding. He posts a lot of other stuff. I actually want to talk about the dollar CAD, and this is going into this weekend. And we got to get past the Bank of Canada first, and they've been very aggressive on cutting rates, and at some point, whether it's today or maybe it won't be today because of all of the threats that the Bank of Canada feels right now. or Canada, you know, just from the Trump administration, they might keep with more of an easing bias. However, one of the things about the dollar CAD is, you know, everything is hinging on what happens this weekend. And this weekend, we're either going to get, you know, February 1st is going to come by, and it's going to come and go. And if that happens on Sunday, you know, the dollar CAD is going to be trading probably above above or below the lows if we don't get any tariffs. I mean, we're going to be trading below that 142, you know, 60. We're probably going to gap down and start moving lower. But I think if there is no tariffs on over the weekend, you could play it on the short side if you want, but I'd be looking actually to be on the long side, somewhere down, you know, near close to 140, because tariffs may not be here on February 1st, but they are coming. And the threat is still going to be very real. The flip side is if Trump goes the route of like Besant's idea, where it's, you know, a smaller, you know, tariff, and, you know, looking to increase over time, you know, over the next, you know, every month or every quarter, it's looking to increase. You might actually get the dollar Canadian, you know, moving lower as well in a situation like that. Now, if Trump comes out swinging and just slaps a 25% tariff on Canada, this dollar CAD is going to be breaking out and making its way towards 150. Come, you know, Sunday, we're going to see a big gap up. So I'm looking to play the dollar CAD, and I'm dismissing the Bank of Canada today. I'm not really going to be stuck in the minutia of central banks today, because I think really what matters at the moment is tariffs. Period. End of story. I think that's where the market is really at. I think whatever's happening with central banks, they're going to be more in a lot of the same, and probably pausing a little bit, waiting for what's to happen with the Trump administration. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on Canada about that? I know you talked about you'd be looking to maybe buy a dip today in the dollar CAD if we saw a move. If we saw a move maybe closer to you know, support. But
yeah,
what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think you've got to take. Everyone's talking about these tariffs, that Trump's going to do it. Trump's going to do it. We could also get a deal before Saturday. We could get Canada and Mexico saying, yeah, okay, we'll do this, that, and the other, and tariffs don't go on. So, yeah, it's a coin toss. You have to be careful. I would not be holding anything into the weekend, like you said, you're not going to, because from that point you've got no control over anything. But remember that what these tariffs are about. Yeah, they're a bit lumpy at 25% or whatever, and he could go less. But these tariffs are about immigration and drugs and crime and cartels, all that stuff that's crossing the border, the undesirables. It's not trade, okay? And we've known that these tariffs have been coming for, you know, a couple of weeks now. So it won't be new news if he goes ahead with those tariffs. And those tariffs are just on small things, if you like, in compared to the bigger picture. So, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get a huge reaction. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, because the, you know, confirmation reaction. But as far as what happens, we can only take what comes at the time. You know, as I say, today, we could get Canada saying, yeah, we're going to bow to your demands, Trump. And he goes, right, no tariffs. And then you already see dollar CAD, you know, falling out a bit or whatever.
Yeah. You know, what's really interesting, and I know you talked about this on the Flow Show, and you guys should go watch Ryan's Flow Show too. Dollar MEX is trading really heavy, and I know you mentioned that during the Flow Show, or not the Flow Show, I'm sorry, the trade-off show with Michael Brown. But this is one that I think we need to be keeping a very, very close eye on too this weekend, is the dollar MEX. It has not been trading very well, considering what, you know, you look at what the dollar CAD's doing, and I think this might show you a little bit closer, you know, a cooperation with what Mexico is doing. K-Man posted a comment a couple of days ago in the chat room, which kind of reinforces this, that the General Motors CEO basically said, you know, I've talked to the president, and there's a lot of different options regarding Mexico and tariffs. And that means that that the president is really, his head is more thinking about, yes, there's immigration, yes, there's drugs, yes, there's but there's also a big Chinese EV market in Mexico that's being produced out there. Something that, oh shoot, did I just miss a bunch of data? Did we have data coming out?
Just inventories and trade balance, which is a bit worse at 122 billion. So about 22 billion worse.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway, I think that headline that K-Man posted in the chat room the other day tells us a lot about where the Trump administration's at as far as Mexico goes, which means, in my opinion, a little bit more cooperation with them. And the Mexican peso seems to be a little defiant right now. Even when stocks are coming down, it's coming down. Even when you know, you hear about tariffs, you see the dollar Canadian rally, the dollar Mexican pesos coming down. So I think the price action is telling us a lot about, you know, what's happening below the surface or beneath the surface. But you know, obviously, we're not going to find out till we find out. It's just being a bit of a sleuth right now.
That one, I'm more liking selling a rally up to that's 2080s, 21s.
Yeah.
If we can't get through that again on such news, then to me that'll be a signal to try some shorts.
Right. Okay. All right. And Dale, I know you're bringing in Larry. Is he around? You see him?
yeah.
Oh, he is.
Okay.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank Steve for being here. Nick, it's great to hear your voice. We have like Mag 7 earnings. We have what do we got today, Nick? We've got Microsoft,
Tesla, and
Meta.
Meta today.
Meta, all big names, and then tomorrow we got Apple and Amazon, and I don't know if you guys saw Amazon. Amazon's at new all-time highs and ripping, and you know, obviously Dale talked a lot about Apple earlier, so I want to thank you all for being here. It looks like K-Man just popped in at the very last minute, but K-Man, good to see you. We'll see you in the chat room.
Hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye.
Bye.
All right, Ryan, and Ryan, always hear your voice too, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, team. Larry, Happy New Year. My
Dale, Happy New Year, my friend.
Yeah, I know it's the 29th, but for you and me, this is our first chance to say Happy New Year to each other. I hope it's a great one for you and all of your subscribers, your family. How are you handling this volatility, Larry?
Well, I'll tell you what, Monday sure was a bit of a wake-up call, huh?
Yeah, I woke. I was happy.
Yeah, big shakeout. But yeah, everything is going pretty good. You know, a little bit of a shakeout on Monday.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's see, as well as talk about what you're looking at. Or are you able to share? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, let me do share my screen. Let's do share.
I'm not sure if
someone else.
there
Okay,
you go. It's coming up.
And then we'll go to share.
Okay, I'm going to allow. All right, there you go.
Can you see my SPY screen?
It's coming up. There you go. Got it.
Okay. So why don't we all let you just take the conversation? I'll go wherever you want.
Okay. So we made, finally took out 6,100, and there wasn't a lot of fanfare. What do you do in this environment? And do you recall trading Trump 1.0? And does this feel, I know it's only been a week so far, does it feel similar that your head has to be on a swivel? It's harder to hold things because of things not having a lot of follow through. I mean, to me, it looks like, we've been choppy since the August low. Looks like a range. You still looking for higher numbers here?
Yeah, I am. I do think we go higher. Just, I've got a couple concerns. So my biggest concern coming into the year has been bond yields, and they started to get away from us. The 10-year was up around 480. So we got lucky. The CPI came in a few weeks ago, and the core CPI numbers from November into December, they were actually down. So that took some pressure off of bond yields. But, my biggest concern would be if bond yields break out, which I don't see it right now. And yeah, like you said, if we get one tweet out of the White House, it can, send some sharp sector rotations. But the key thing is earnings are coming in pretty good.
Yeah.
I really paid attention to the big bank earnings like JP Morgan,
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs. Those earnings came in good. A lot of the tech earnings have come in pretty good. And the indices are still in uptrends. You get some rotation under the surface, like the semis got blown out the other day. The nuclear stocks got blown out the other day, and I had a couple stops that got hit in there. But what we saw was the money moved into software. It moved into these big hyperscalers like Meta. It moved into Amazon. So I expected that hit that we took on Monday could have done a lot more damage than it really did. So I think that was a pretty good sign.
Yeah, I think you're right. It could have. Everything, all the charts left wicks. The other mags were doing okay. What about the recent Apple decline, Larry? And now we've rallied halfway back. Is that enough to get you interested in Apple? Did you buy it down there?
Nah, Apple's really not a stock that I do anything with. I think it's a great long-term holding for people that have it, but it's a really mature company. They don't have a ton of earnings growth, so I'm not bearish on it, but it's just not a stock. I've got some Meta. I think Amazon has some better growth. Maybe Google has some better growth. So I'm not bearish on Apple, but it's not something I hold.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the star of the show yesterday, NVIDIA.
Yeah. So NVIDIA,
Okay.
go
So
ahead.
we went to 116, which I have as a major support. You
Yeah.
could draw a flat line across. Um, I happen to have gotten lucky. All right. I was short NVIDIA from the week before.
Right.
And I cut, that was my initial target, but under 116, Larry, there's a lot of air. I'm looking to step back into puts on a rally in NVIDIA.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. That last shot of that moving average,
Yeah.
holding it. Look at where it could go to your next moving average.
Yeah. It's not my favorite chart. And you and I have been talking for years. I've had NVIDIA since May of 2023.
Yeah,
And right now I've got the smallest amount of NVIDIA that I've had, over that 2-year run, just because, the chart broke down. The number that I wanted to see hold was 130. So
yeah,
I was pretty bullish because you see there's a lot of
yeah,
support, here,
yeah,
here. I was pretty bullish on Nvidia if it could stay over 130. But the
yeah,
problem is when it had this big breakdown the other day on a lot of volume through that 130 level. Now
yeah,
what happens is all this support that Nvidia had between 130 to
yeah.
140, that's now
Supply now.
it's a now,
Supply.
yeah, it's a ton of overhead. I'm still holding it. It's a really small piece, but it's, for me, it's not a good chart. And if I didn't have a position, it's not something that I would buy. Now, listen, it could bounce. And I think the key catalyst for NVIDIA is what's the information that comes out of China with DeepSeek, because that's a real thing. The media, it's been out there for a few weeks, but for whatever reason, the market didn't really take it seriously until Monday. And, it didn't just hit Nvidia, but it hit, these networking stocks like Arista Networks. It
Yeah,
hit anything that was related to AI
yeah,
data centers,
yeah. The
semis.
uranium, even the uranium stocks.
Yeah, yeah, because that's all about the nuclear.
Right.
So I
To
think the
power those centers.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
overhang that's on the market right now is if what DeepSeek is saying is true, and there's a lot of people that have counteracted it and said that they bought, I think, 50,000 NVIDIA GPUs and things like that. But so far, the market, what it's done is it's sold first
Yeah.
until it figures out what's going on. But you know, the market's taking it seriously. Now, it's been a benefit for the software stocks. You know, you look at stocks like ServiceNow, because
Right.
the train of thought is that what's bad for GPUs and data centers might be good for software and inferencing. But yeah, for NVIDIA, listen, I hope it bounces. I still have it, but it's definitely not my favorite chart right now.
Yeah, I'd get out into the gap around 136 if it gives it to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, you talked about the the good fortune of the CPI. And some people are saying, in fact, Nick, guy that works here with us, is saying that TLT or notes look like they're putting in a head and shoulders bottom. Are you impressed with this rally in TLT? Are you going with it?
You know, I'm not. So he might be
Neither am
right.
I.
He
Yeah,
might be right. You've got a major low in what
yeah,
is that, October, November of 23.
yeah, at
And
82.
that's when the 10-year hit about 490 or 495, something like that.
Yeah,
And then right here. So, you know, he could be right. From a technical formation, this could be a double bottom. You know, it could have put in a higher low right there. But I think that the backdrop for rates, I think the low end on the 10 years probably 425,
that's about
because
where. Yeah,
economic growth is still really strong. You know,
yeah,
payrolls are coming in good.
yeah,
You know, if we get tariffs, and I'm definitely not an inflation expert, you know, or a tariff expert, but if we get tariffs, that probably puts some upward pressure on bond yields. So, you know, this might be the bottom, but I'm just not a buyer of bonds overall.
yeah. I'd like to. Yeah, okay. What is your view? I know you're a technical trader. Um, Tariffs can lead to trade wars, right? I mean, it's not a bullish economic theme, is it?
I don't think it is, but I don't think the tariffs. My view is I think tariffs might be more of a bargaining chip than
Yeah,
anything else, because nobody wants to upset the apple cart. So us in China, we're each other's biggest trading partners. And then Canada, I don't know how much, you know, how impactful they are. But you know, with us in China, we really need each other. So we've got the tariffs, they're out there. I think they're mostly a bargaining chip. And listen, they might go through. You know, we had a situation over the weekend. I think it was with Colombia, and we were trying to send some people back there, and then they said no, and then we said we're going to
right.
tariff everything, and then I think they said yes. So I think tariffs are a big bargaining chip, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure, you know, how much they're going to come to fruition. But if they do, you know, if we get heavy tariffs and big tariffs, then yeah, it probably creates some volatility in the markets.
okay. Do you have a dollar view, Larry?
Now, you know
UUT?
that the dollar's been strong. Where so the dollar's been pretty strong. It's been pulling back recently, you know, but
Yeah,
I don't have much of a view on the dollar.
okay.
I know it had a pretty big run, you know, after the election, but I'm not as dialed in on the dollar.
Okay, how about oils?
So the energy stocks, you know, energy's a really divided group.
It's
So if you look at these,
bifurcated.
yeah, very much. So if you look at these pipeline stocks, right, you know, Enbridge, this is in Canada. So if the market's worried about Canadian tariffs, I don't know that it's showing up there, and maybe that's the wrong, you know, screen that I should be looking at. But if you look at a lot of these pipeline stocks, they look really good. You know,
Yeah,
they're right near the highs. But then if you look at some of the big majors, you know,
they look
Exxon,
bad. Yeah,
that's
terrible.
near the lows. If you look at some of the refiners, Marathon is near the lows. If you look at the nat gas stocks, now here's the trick with nat gas. And I've got EQT and I've got Enbridge. But the trick with natural gas, you see, EQT took a hit about 9% on Monday. Is part of the story with natural gas
Is to
is that
run the data centers.
exactly right. So if you take a
Yeah,
look at the hit that natural gas took on Monday,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what we found out the other day, at least what I found out, and I thought I knew it, but it was confirmed, is you've got sectors that are nowhere not tech whatsoever. You know, natural gas. You've
Yeah.
got some of these industrial stocks that got hit really hard. I mean, look at this Eaton Corporation,
Why?
because they build the data centers.
Okay, so it's all about
It's
the
all tied
data.
in. So
All
you
right.
take
Wow.
nuclear, some of these industrials, these natural gas stocks, it's all one big giant, you know,
Yeah.
AI data center. But I do like the pipelines. I like Enbridge. They've got a nice dividend yield, MPLX. And I think in energy, this is the place that I would focus on is these pipelines.
Okay. How about the mining sector? Could include copper, gold,
Yeah,
silver.
the copper miners I don't like. So the gold
Yeah,
miners, AEM is a great chart.
that
And
looks good.
AEM, to the best of my knowledge, is the only gold miner that's actually breaking out to all-time highs at the same time that that gold is right near the highs. Kinross up in Canada, KGC.
Yeah,
That's a really nice chart. That looks like it's ready to break out. Look at that. That's a great weekly trend. So
yeah,
those would be my two favorite. If you look at the ETF GDX, it's not a great chart, and this is another very bifurcated group. If you look at Newmont Mining,
yeah.
that's all the way down. So I think in these sectors like energy and gold miners, you really have to dial into where the money's going into.
Right.
Copper miners look bad. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
Freeport. Yeah,
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 Freeport's really bad. Southern Copper, these are all near the lows. So I'm not good with copper. I couldn't tell you why, if it's oversupply or if people are worried about China growth. But in the miners right now, I think you want to focus on those two, AEM and KGC.
okay. I think AEM also used to be a big silver mine, not just
Maybe.
gold, right?
Maybe, and
Uh,
and they might still be, a lot of these miners, they kind of do a little bit of everything while they're down
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But yeah, and I know Wheaton is probably the biggest, silver miner that I know of, and that's not, it's a weird group.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, nice looks. What were those two golds that you liked again?
So
Uh,
AEM,
yeah, AEM.
yeah, great, great. Now keep in mind these are both up in Canada, which is where, those
Oh, and
Canadian gold
Kinross.
miners. Yeah,
I was,
Kinross, really nice chart, and you can see it's up
yeah,
17% year to date. Not so whatever the reason is, the market's really gravitating into these two, and I like those charts a lot.
okay. Um, well, highest conviction position that I know could change at a moment's notice going into 2025 that you think you'll be,
For one single stock,
or a sector.
It's tough because it's rotational, but if I had to
Okay.
pick a sector right now, I'd say communication services. And the reason is you got Meta is breaking out to new all-time highs. Now they've got earnings tonight, and it's had a big run. It's up 12% over the last month. Whenever stocks, I don't really like it when stocks run up ahead of earnings because I always expect that when they run up, it sets them up for the
Yeah.
pullback.
Buy the rumor,
But
sell the fact. Yeah.
yeah, when they run up into it. But Meta, if you look at Spotify, which is also in that sector, big breakout.
Yeah.
Netflix, right near the highs. They had a great number after earnings. DoorDash is also in communication services, $76 billion market cap. And the chart that's breaking out too. So right now, I would say the communication services sector with a lot of these charts. Google's not bad. Reddit is breaking out right now. These are all in that sector. Roblox is breaking out in communication services. So really just looking at the charts, it's a super strong sector. Outside of that, I still like technology for the year. It's just, I couldn't tell you if it's going to be semis or software, where it's going to be.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a more bifurcated market, even within sectors?
No.
What do you think that means?
Yeah, I think it means there's just a lot of money out there that super jumpy, and we get one headline, and because the other day that hit on Monday, that was a big hit. If you look at what happened to the
Yeah,
whole semiconductor group, they
yeah,
went from ready to break out, and
yeah.
and this was something I posted the other.
Last Monday, people were calling it a breakout. But if you look to the left on that
Yeah,
semi, you look to the left on that semi chart,
yeah, it
and you
needs
see
over.
that gap. You see that gap back in July.
Yeah,
It filled it on that one candle exactly.
yep.
You know, the breakout trade finally filled the gap. Yeah,
Sam, the biggest thing that I noticed, and I've been at this for a long time like you have, but I don't usually see stocks that are making new all-time highs, right?
yeah, yeah,
Break down by 20% in one day. And
yeah,
and we saw it across the board. Vertiv, new
yeah,
all-time highs, that got clobbered. You look at this Celestica, new
yeah. But
all-time. So
you have
when
a
we're in
lot
it,
of people trapped, and they're probably
yeah.
paralyzed. They don't know what to do.
Well, I
Uh,
had I had I had four stocks that got stopped out, and the only thing that saved me is my position size was small. It's like 2 or 3% in each
yeah,
of these stocks. But yeah, they hit four of my stops, and there's it just is what it is. You put the stops there for a reason. But I've seen 20% drops in bear markets, and I've seen 20% drops. Like when stocks are in a long-term downtrend. Then they miss earnings, then they break down some more. But I don't often see stocks that are making new highs get hit that hard. So, but
that's
so
what Apple did. Apple was making new highs, and in 3 weeks it gave up 15, 20%.
yeah,
See
yeah,
that? I mean, it's
you're
one
right.
of the weirdest tops I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It
you're
didn't. It
right.
didn't gap.
Now,
You
at
know,
least there you had a couple chances to get
get
out.
out. Yeah,
Whereas on Monday, they turned
yeah,
on the lights and
yeah.
surprise, there it was. So
You know what people are saying right now?
what?
I think I'll watch it a while.
Yeah.
Ever hear
Listen,
yourself say that?
I
You
said it
know,
on I said it on Monday.
all right,
What
I'm telling you, look, Larry is an excellent tactician, but you know why he's still in the business? Because he uses stops. So he got taken out of trades probably beneath a stop, but he doesn't have to think about what do I do now? Because his plan was already covered when he went in. Okay. He didn't say, a week later, oh, I better throw a stop in.
Yeah,
So, Larry, that's, a very key takeaway for people that if your stops aren't in, and I tried it, I would use a mental stop.
right.
And they would get down there and say, well, maybe I should add, or I'll watch it for a while. But
Yeah.
anyway, using mental stops, my first stop was a mental institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Listen,
right, so
that's,
any
look, a guy was on my Twitter page last night and he posted that he lost 19% of his portfolio on Monday.
wow,
And you
yeah,
can't, that's hard to recover for, because if you lose 19%,
you
you
got to
need
make
to make
40.
25%, right?
Yeah,
25% to get back to even.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
listen, the other day, and I posted this on my members page because I post everything on my website. They get my buys and my stop losses and my position sizing. So I had four stop losses get hit. I did take a gain in one of these nuclear stocks, but the net drawdown that I had on the day for all my closed positions was 1%. So if it's
money management.
yeah, if it's the worst day that we've seen in a long time, and all my, I get a bunch of stops hit, and I just have a 1% hit, as far as my closed trades, I can survive. I sat there after for a few hours in my office and, looked at the screens and, that was about it. But then you come back in the next day with a clear head
Right.
and you just see how things develop. But if you don't have stops or correct position sizing, a day like Monday could take a lot of people out.
The difference between pros and amateurs are pros know how to lose, so they have money left to be right with. That's Larry Tentarelli. That's your tagline, buddy. I've been
Dale, I
using
like that.
for yeah, it's the truth. So why don't you show people where they could get involved with you, Larry?
So the best place on Twitter, you can find me at Blue Chip Daily, and I post on there pretty frequently. And then my website is the same thing. It's bluechipdaily.com. We've got a 30-day free trial. People can join. There's no obligation, and
Nice.
they get my trades in real time. And I do a daily video. I post daily ideas. I've got members that are short-term swing traders. I've got members that are long-term investors. So I post, ideas throughout the day, and then everyone does with the ideas whatever they want to.
Okay, well, the next 30 days are going to be action-packed. I encourage people to keep an eye on what Larry's keeping an eye on. Especially, if you're interested in equities. As you can tell, I like FX, but I also like trading equities. So at the minimum, follow Larry at Blue Chip Daily on X, at Blue Chip Daily. And I'm hearing from some of my cycle guys that February is not going to be a real good month for the market. Just a little heads up for you. Okay, buddy?
Yeah. It's possible once you get earnings out of the way, I don't know what we got a lot of stuff. We got the Fed today. We got a ton of earnings. But then once you get that out of the way, you might hit a little bit of an air pocket.
Yeah, and I know people are looking for 6,400 too. And even some is over 7,000.
I'm looking
ahead.
for 6,800 by the end of the year. But
Okay.
I also think that there's a 10% pullback that's going to come in because, the market averages, S&P averages a 10% pullback every year, and it averages a 15% pullback every 2 years. And we didn't really get much of a pullback last year.
Right.
I think we got a 9% drawdown in the S&P. So, I just go in every day, prepared for volatility and just see what happens. But there's a lot of good charts out there.
Yeah, I'm thinking that happens between now and March, May, in there into the spring.
Maybe,
And then the Fed starts priming the pump.
Yeah, it could be. I always get worried around July and August. September.
Yeah.
September is usually a bad month. So, somewhere in this neighborhood. But I just assumed that we could get it at any time. But right now, what I do is I just trade the charts that are on the screen, and I am finding a lot of stuff that's really bullish right now.
Okay. Larry Tentarelli, he's a master tactician in trading stocks, and you guys should follow him and check his stuff out. And you diversify away from your own ideas. And thank you, Larry. I hope you have a great year, buddy. We'll talk in the spring. See
Dale,
how
my
things are
friend,
shaking
thank
out.
you. Thank you to you too, and for all your listeners.
All right. Follow Larry. And remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Good luck on the Fed, and see everyone tomorrow. Adios.